Lindenwood head coach Jed Stugart. The team is going to open the season this week. They're going to take on their first ever FBS opponent in Kansas, who is ranked 22nd and 24th in the two FBS polls. So, Coach, just some thoughts about your team and the 2024 season beginning.
Yeah, Kyle, it's good to be on with you again. We, can't believe how fast this season has come upon us. I mean, it just seems like we were just leaving spring ball not too long ago. So, kind of reflecting on, our team right now, I kind of go back to, coming off of our last season. Obviously we weren't real happy with kind of where we ended up. And, we know we had to address some things as we move into year 3 of this move to FBS Division I football. And so I really felt like we addressed some issues of our team when it comes to depth. I think depth was a major part last year of our how our season went when we had the number of injuries we had. And I think this year we do feel like we are a deeper team. I feel like this team's more mature than our last team. So I've been really excited about just kind of going through fall camp, but even spring ball and our winter workouts and our winter workouts, spring ball, and then even our summer. This team feels more mature. They're handling some more of their own business that we felt like we had to kind of guide them through last year. We're relatively healthy, coming out of a fall camp that I feel better about. We still have some guys that were still coming back from some of those surgeries that we are close to getting fully cleared, and that's encouraging. So, I feel good where our team is at. And obviously, we're taking on a big challenge here as we start off the season. But it's an exciting time. It's an exciting opportunity. This is going to be a first for a lot of people, even for coaches. There's going to be a lot of firsts for coaches that this will be their first time experience. We've always kind of played up, but, not everybody in our rooms even had a chance to play against FBS opponents. So, let alone a Power 4 top 25 team. So lots of new and lots of excitement. It should be great energy.
If anybody's got questions for Coach, just let me know down the chat and I'll call on you. Then you can unmute yourself and ask away. What you just referenced there, isn't that part of the reason you made a Division I move too, to play bigger opponents, to play in a stage and getting to play a nationally ranked team and a big time venue where they're playing some of their home games at this year? That was part of this whole process, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's, from our administration standpoint, I mean, we have part of that 4 years of what they call transition. I know we don't like to use that word, we talk about, but the reality is that's what we're going through, and not being able to get a lot of initially revenue share, those types of things that come with this while you're going through it. Obviously we have to, we have to play some of these games. I think that's part of the fun of it. A lot of these kids wanted to be recruited by FBS programs. Maybe some did, and here's a great opportunity. I think this is what makes part of this journey really exciting is for these types of opportunities. I think always as a coach, you're always, every coach that's in our conference or around this country, that's an FCS program, is having those same conversations with their athletic directors when they come in and say, hey, we get an opportunity to play so-and-so. We're obviously going to have our opinions as well of like, well, it sounds fun, but, there's also, let's think through some of these things. So I think that's just the natural thing that coaches have with ADs. Their job is to help schedule. Their job is to raise some revenue. But like I said, this is part of the journey. We knew what we were getting into, and that's part of the excitement of this journey as we go through this.
Just to maybe get a little specific on Kansas, then what can you say about them? And they're obviously ranked, and they had a good season last year. And what do you expect to see from them this weekend?
Well, I mean, Lance and I talked, 2 years ago here at the mega camp, and that's really where this game kind of was kind of brought up as a possibility. And I knowing Lance, I've known him for quite a while. We haven't been super close through that time, but we started, as you well know, Kyle, when you and I were together at Northern Colorado. I mean, he was at Nebraska, Omaha. I've kind of watched so we've competed against each other back in the North Central Conference days. And I got to remind him, he in his press conference today, he said some great things about our camp and our are knowing each other. He just got the school wrong. You mentioned Augie. That caused a lot of rift back in Sioux Falls. I was with Sioux Falls, not Augie, but he just said I think he got those wires crossed a little bit. But I'll remind him before the game time that hey man, you can't do that to me. But Lance has been. You just look at his career. I mean, he's been a great coach. I knew 2 years ago when Kansas on per se wasn't a real powerful program. They were struggling. I knew it would not take long when you look at Coach Leipold's track record of how he's built winning teams, winning cultures. I knew it wouldn't take long for that to happen here, and and so they're a really good football team. I mean, there's change. There's another offensive coordinator this year that wasn't last year, so you have to kind of with any first week games, you've got to kind of get an idea of what that offensive coordinator's like from where he came from, and then you got to kind of watch personnel from their games last year because they are doing a lot of similar things with Coach Grimes being the new offensive coordinator to what they did last year. We feel kind of watching some Baylor and watching this. But first games, even for them, for all of us coaches, you go into a first game. There's new offenses, there's new defense, there's new. You don't have a lot of tendencies to go off of. You got to try to just really understand personnel, how they play, how the quarterback plays, and then it comes down to playing football. You got to be gap sound. You got to be coverage. Your coverage has got to be there. Things because it all comes back down to football. So that's all. That's challenges for everybody on week ones. You got to get through the first few series to kind of get an idea of what their game plan or what their identity is going to be for that game. But you just try your best to prepare. And a lot of that's just recognizing and respecting the personnel that you're going to play. I think that's what we talked a lot about is not fearing your opponent, but respecting your opponent, understanding what strengths they bring in. The speed's going to be a little different. How do you handle these things? You can't give just rah-rah speeches all summer and all fall camp and tell the David and Goliath stories. You got to, those are irrelevant. You got to play. We always say, you don't really rise to the occasion. You fall back to your fundamentals, technique, those types of things, and then you recognize, okay, who am I going up against? What are their strengths over my strengths, and how can I work that? I remember I shared a great story with them, and you'd be familiar with this with Reed Dowdy at Northern Colorado. Reed stuck in the NFL for about 7 or 8 years because he was always considered a little bit slower safety, a little bit smaller safety, but Reed was so smart of understanding his limitations and how he could position himself against people that were better than him. It wasn't a pride thing, it wasn't an ego thing. It's like, hey, I got to position myself. And we drove that story home with them using that example about Reed and why every year the scouts used to tell me, well, I don't know, hopefully Reed makes it again. And he made it every year because he just was smart like that. We've been using analogies like that more than that, hey, let's be the David over Goliath kind of things. It's that story gets used so much in these first week games when people play up.
Excuse me. Last question. Thursday night. Thoughts about playing on that? Obviously, it's not a short week because you've had camp. I mean, it is a short week, but you've had camp before. But just kicking it off on Thursday for fans to watch that.
No, I think Thursday night games are fun. I mean, it's kind of like we're one of the few earliest games. I think it helps even for the following week. To have a couple extra days of rest, recovery, a little bit more game planning for the next week. So lots of positives. Like I said, we've had all the time to prep. There's nothing where you don't feel like you're cramped at all. And I think Thursday night football and being in that environment and playing a really good football team, a really well coached football team. I mean, it's going to be a lot of electricity and we understand. Like I said, we understand where it's. I got all the text messages from friends that saw the ticker tape at the bottom and the probability percentages. We get all that stuff. That's kind of fun. That's part of the fun of it. It's and we just haven't really even shared that stuff with our players. But I really love the thought of playing a Thursday night game. it was originally scheduled for Saturday. It got moved to Thursday, and we were glad that it did a long time ago. So,
Well, Coach, appreciate your time this morning. Best of luck against the Jayhawks, and we'll talk to you next week.
thanks, Kyle. Good to see you again, man.